Alright guys, so here's a quick breakdown on how to use the GRTEP website. For Humanities 1 or Oral Comm or any class that you have, you're going to go ahead and get your textbook. On the inside cover of your textbook will be a little Scratch-'em code, and you're going to use that code to create an account on the GRTEP website. That's GRTEP.com. Once you have your account made, you're going to go ahead and log in like you would for any other website. Now my account is going to look slightly different because it's the teacher's account, but the basic layout's still the same. When you first log in, you'll have a calendar of any major events that are coming up, any kind of big announcements, and then you'll have a list here of any of the classes that you're taking. So let's say that you're taking Humanities 201 as well as Oral Comm. Those will both be listed here individually, separately. But for our class here, Humanities 201, I'm going to go ahead and click on the little play button. That opens up a new tab. That new tab is going to take me into choose which class I have. Now in my case, I have multiple classes to pick from. In your case, you'll only have the one. So you'll go to our class, whether it's the 11 to 12:15 or the 12:30 to 1:45 or whatever class it is, whatever semester it is. Once you've done that, it's going to take you into the Humanities 1 class right here. So this is our welcome page, just kind of giving you a quick overview, kind of a summary of what's going to be involved in this Humanities class. Pretty much all the information we talked about during that first day. You can click on course information for any nitty-gritty information that you might need. If you want to go over and look at the syllabus or the contract information that you have, you can click on the spring 2020 or whatever semester it is, and that will pull up our syllabus. Once you've gone ahead and you've read through the syllabus, you'll come over here and you'll just check, yes, I indeed have read the syllabus, and you can click submit. If you need to see the schedule for this particular semester, you can go ahead and click right here, and that will pull up the schedule of information. Each schedule in the course here is going to have it broken down week by week, and it will tell you what chapter we're on during that particular week. It will also show you when different chapter tests, those post-tests, when they're going to close. Remember that once those close, I do not have the ability to reopen them at all. My best suggestion, pull out your phone's calendar and put all these dates in that calendar. That way you know way in advance the information that you're going to need to pass the exams. There's some course information as far as me, your instructor, and any big announcements will be posted here on the GRTEP website. If it's a major announcement, as well as the cultural event list there, the schedule for the cultural events, I'll post both of those on Blackboard as well, but they will be here. This is our main website we're going to be using. So moving on. The next tab over is our chapters tab. This is going to be where we have all of our individual chapters, all the way down through chapter 10. You can go ahead and ignore chapter 11 right now. Starting out with Chapter 1, we're going to deal with Mesopotamia here in our Humanities 1 class. Whenever you get here, you'll see that on the left-hand side we have a couple learning objectives, things we're going to be getting into in the class. There's a couple little exercises or learning activities. These are really good kind of extra work should you feel that maybe you're not 100% versed on the actual text. So if you've gone through, you've read the chapter, and it still doesn't 100% make sense, they have some games and exercises that you can play that will help kind of solidify that information. Over on the right-hand side over here, we have the Chapter 1 test, and this is the same for every chapter. Over on the right side, you'll see that it has an availability date, that's when it opens or unlocks, and a closing date, and that's when it's going to go ahead and lock up on us. So before February 3rd, this test will be open and available. But remember, the second you take the test, it is done, okay? So you have a limit of 30 minutes to take your exam. It will absolutely lock up on you after 30 minutes. It will no longer let you submit any kind of questions. So again, my best suggestion is make a timer on your cell phone or on your clock, and that way you know in advance, set your timer for 25 minutes. That way you have a 5-minute warning before the test actually locks up. So once you've gone ahead and you have finished your questions, you're going to go ahead and say submit my answers. You'll save those responses, and when you're all done, you will click I am finished, and that will submit your test. If you don't click that I am finished, then your test never gets submitted, never gets graded, and you get a big old 0, and that's no good for anyone. So when you're ready to start your exam, you'll click on begin your attempt, and it will take you over to the next page. As far as the rest of the website, it's pretty straightforward. There's the cultural events tab. When you have the cultural events available, you will click on cultural event 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. You're going to get a little tiny text box like you're writing an email or something like that. And I would suggest that you write your cultural event directly in that text box. It's not that you have to, but the website will stop you from copying and pasting. So let's say that you wrote it in like Google Docs or something, and you copy and paste it into the cultural events tab. It actually will not allow you to do that. I've had students in the past who submit their project, they've copy and pasted, they've clicked submit, and what happens on my end of the spectrum as the teacher is I get a blank document because it will delete any aspect that's been copy and pasted. So my best suggestion, whenever you get the text document, whenever you get your text window for your cultural event, just type directly in that window. Student resources is pretty straightforward as well. Any of the articles or information that we talk about in class, if you want more information about those, you can access them here. When it's time to take our final exam or our final essay, that's in the final exam and final essay tab. You'll see right here is our final essay. You have a 20-minute time limit. It works exactly the same as your cultural events. You'll click on this, get a little text box, and you'll be able to type in your answers. Now, it will ask you 2 different questions, but you only need to do one of those questions. So no reason to do more work than you need to. It'll give you multiple questions to pick from. You pick the best of the litter. Then we've got our final exam. Now your final exam is going to have 60 questions with 50 minutes to complete the exam. Again, I'd highly suggest that you set a little timer to remind you when there's a 5-minute warning. But you have 60 different questions. What that means is this: if you are planning to cheat or do anything improper, you were going to open up an extra window and Google every single question. Do not think about doing that. You don't have that much time for each question. The time it takes you to type in the question, to try and Google it, to try and cheat the system, it's not going to work for you. You are much better to know your information, know that textbook inside and out, and take that test confidently. If you've been doing really well on the post tests, you're going to be doing just fine on that final exam because it is a cumulative final exam. They're going to ask you questions very similar to those post tests. Finally is the gradebook. If you want to know your score, you don't need to email me. I don't post it on Blackboard, but I do post it here on the Humanities GRTEP website. So the second you take your exam, it will be automatically graded. So you'll click on Gradebook, and then you're going to click on the word Grid right here. That Grid tab is going to show you every single score that you have so far. But remember, your final score is the grand total. It's not your total to date. So the entire course is out of 100 points. But let's say that it's the midterm and you've only taken 2 or 3 cultural events and 2 or 3 post tests. Well, your final out of 100 is not going to look all that good. It might be 25 points out of 100. That's a failing grade. But remember that it's out of the grand total 100 points. So if you want to know your score to date, what you'll need to do is add up the points that you have and divide them by the points that are available. So if the post test is 2.5 points, and you got a 2 point out of it, then you got 2 out of 2.5. You can just add up all the other grades that you've gotten so far. So your cultural event is out of 5 points. If you got 4 out of 5, then you can do the math and figure out your percentage on that as well. If you have any major questions or concerns, of course, you're welcome to contact me. The best way to do that is through email. Again, you can get my personal school email here through the course information tab. Down here towards the bottom, and right there is my email. Feel free to contact me with any major questions or issues that you have. I'll also post on our Blackboard my schedule of classes that I have this particular semester, as well as any other major information or content that you may need. But for the most part, we're going to be hanging out on this GRTEP website. So that is your quick overview on how to use the GRTEP website for Humanities 1. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.